So, dear people, I have the current One Piece spoiler for you. Very fresh, hot and greasy. Because we finally have Loki here, revealed as a huge black dragon. And Luffy rides him directly in Gear 5. In his giant Gear 5 form, he is supposed to ride this giant dragon. A completely dark dragon, who simply overshadows everything that is there in size, including the Alptraum beings. In addition, the plan with the children of Imsamon there is a little clearer for us now. We go in, leave a thumbs up so you don't miss the subscribe channel. And yes, first of all, the message. Next week is a break or take a break, so it's an Oda break. It's okay after these few awesome chapters. And finally, at least before the break, the reveal of what Loki is ultimately. The name of the Devil's Fruit should not be dropped in this chapter. A bit of a shame, but guys, it's actually clear. It is actually clear that he is the Nidhogg dragon, the lightning dragon, which has already been thematized there. Of course, I have linked the source in the video description. And the chapter 1174 also bears the title. The strongest in the world. The strongest in the world. How often have we heard that already? Whitebeard, Kaido, they were all called the strongest. But now it should be Loki. I don't know if he meant it at all. On the cover page we have Gold Roger, who is in the middle of a T-Rex, so also very funny. So, and then we have the event now, before we come to Loki and make fun of something like that. With the children, who are ultimately supposed to be led to this ship. The ship broke down. Now you ask yourself, okay, what is the world government planning now, after the plan has actually gone wrong? I thought, okay, either they flee, and say okay, plan has gone wrong, shit on it, it's getting too hot here. And I can really imagine that now, especially after the appearance of Loki and Luffy anyway. Or they just do the other number, just this maximally unscrupulous, yes, away with it, we'll get new geysers or something. And that's how it is. The children are now reaching the end of the country, where the Sea of Clouds began, where the ship was. Where the Ship of Clouds was, is now a hole, because it was destroyed. And now the children are really threatening to fall into this hole, into the underworld. And that can only normally survive Loki, who survived it as a newborn, and even climbed up. And Thomas is also there. That is also his merit, that the ship is broken and everything. That they now fall into the hole and die and everything. And he himself says, yes, shit on it. When they die, we just get new geysers here from some children. There are more children here. We take them as geysers, and do exactly the same again. That's why he doesn't give a shit. He just lets the children run to death. But we still have the other giants there on Elban. Ripley, for example, the mother of Colon, the wife of Skopagabad. But also the other parents of the children who are there. Try to stop them. Of course, they can't do it. We also know the ability of Thomas, with the thorns. The more emotions you have for this child, or the person who is surrounded by this invisible thorn, the stronger the pain or the thorns will crush you even more. And of course, as a parent, it's the worst thing if you touch your own child. But they do it. They don't care how much the pain of the thorns is. They hug their children and fall down with them. Of course, the parents are all being spat at now. And probably the more they fall down, the better. But they somehow try to stop the fall of the children. It's an honor move. They have sacrificed themselves to the maximum. And it's safe in the chapter if you read it. Much, much better than if I just tell you this here. But, the big but, they fall. They all fall. Loki appears, people. Loki appears and even saves them as a giant dragon. He is a giant black dragon. And there, people, wait and see what he looks like. A little bird has already twitched me, people. It is really mentally disturbed. So the Alptraum beings, the Draugr, he still looked so huge, this skeletal being. The one that froze Loki in the underworld. Loki himself looked like he didn't even go up to his shin bone. And now the Draugr looks like this compared to the dragon. So the Alptraum beings look like really small beings next to this giant dragon. The dragon really looks the same, I think, like such niches in size. So maybe that's a bit exaggerated now. But I'm really excited. Perspectives, sizes, you know? That's often the case with Oda. And as if that weren't enough, Luffy rides him here. Luffy rides this giant dragon. Ragnir, the squirrel, which is actually the hammer of him, is also in the squirrel form on the head of this dragon. And he probably also attacks all these Alptraum beings with lightning. Just fly past them while they still save the others, and so on. So that's really a pompous appearance of the sickest duo. That's actually a trio with Ragnir. You almost have to see him as a character. It's not just a weapon. I'm curious, as I said, if Chopper can talk to him. Because it's an animal. Maybe he really has ancient knowledge. Wait and see. Really interesting, and really blatant chapter. Finally, we killed Loki. Of course, yes, the fruit was not killed here. It also says in the spoilers that Loki's devilish call is not mentioned in name. Yeah, okay. But we knew Lightning Dragon, Nidhogg. But it really looks a bit different, I think, than this Alptraum being that Gillingham spawned there. And now I ask myself, the children are saved. We now have a huge dragon. So what else is to happen? What is the danger of the arc now? Okay, the regeneration is coming again and again. But even the regeneration, so really, we have a huge dragon there. And guys, I'm telling you, Kaido is as big as a toenail of this Loki dragon. That's maybe a bit exaggerated. But I'm really telling you, Kaido is maybe as big as the head of this dragon. So really, he's so gigantic. And you should probably see Loki's eyes here too. He always has his bandage, his blindfold over his eyes. He was somehow titled as a demon by his own mother because of the eyes. I don't know if it's such an emotional cataclysm thing that he only blindfolds his eyes because he was discriminated against, or something. Or if it's really such a protection mechanism. Because if he looks at someone with his eyes, he dies. Or he can do something else with it. Wait and see. Because the eyes also look really blatant in this chapter. And Raffi, as I said, Raffi is in his giant Gear 5 form. That's not in the spoiler, but I heard. That's why wait and see if that's really true. And he doesn't look that big on the dragon either. And in the giant Gear 5 form he could hold Saturn in his hand. You're already checking. So I don't just want to hang on to the size of Loki. But in Elban, everything is so exaggeratedly gigantic. And Loki outangles everything else again. That's why you just have to mention that. I'm just wondering how Oda should make the arc exciting for us now. So I'll be honest with you. Who is more of the antagonist here? Purely from the look. The black dragon with the fire eyes and the spines. Who can somehow control the elements. Or what Emu is here. So the woman with the underpants. So really, that's just crazy. I'm really wondering how Oda is supposed to make this exciting. Of course we know that Emu's abilities are very versatile. But with so much violence. And then we have Raffi in Gear 5, who hasn't even shown anything else yet. That's going to be really crazy on Elbaf. The most interesting thing for me is the name of the fruit. That we find out that it really is the Nidhogg. And so he was also titled as Lightning Dragon. That's why we're waiting to see if he still has such elementary skills with it. Because it's a mystical devil fruit. That's clear. A mystical swan, and mystical swan fruits are not just an animal transformation, but still have some kind of twist, some supernatural skill, and maybe he even has more. So he has the hammer he controls anyway. But even without the hammer, he would be one of the strongest characters from One Piece. And the chapter is also called The Strongest in the World. Is that really what it's meant for? I heard from another source. We should also get wall painting revelations regarding Raffi and Loki, so that the two, someone says, so now she sees them in the sky, and then someone says, oh, they're back. They are reunited again, just like on the wall painting, or somehow something like that will still come. That's very little here, very little as I said from Q Piece. I have linked it in the video description, but it was really a chapter now that was necessary. I also have people, and my prediction has come true exactly. Last time before 2 chapters I said, okay, we still have 2 chapters. And then they appear. And they really appear. And perfect. In the last chapter we even said, what if the children are now with this arrow bird? Or somehow transported away. Through the air. Through a nightmare or something. And then Loki has to save them in this dragon form and stuff. But so that they fall. And he saves them somehow. Also a great solution. He's just a fat dragon. Such a Dark Souls dragon, people. How awesome is that, eh? And for me, still interesting. He has already transformed himself in the Aura's castle, to this dragon shortly, when he had just eaten the fruit, and then also killed Harold. Was he already in another form there? Because he is so big, as he is probably staged here. He definitely doesn't fit into this castle. And also, what does his hybrid form look like, people? Oh my god, the hybrid form was already maximally blatant with Kaido. And with him, it will be even more blatant. Because the dragon itself already looks a lot cooler. This is also more of a Western dragon. Kaido had more of this long, this Asian. I really want the reaction of Emu to the two. To Raffi in the Gear 5 form. And also Loki in this dragon form. That's probably really such a maximum Vietnam flashback that Emu gets here. But that was the spoiler first. The spoiler for today. As I said, there will be the summary on Thursday. Then we know a lot more. And a lot more details. And probably a lot more awesome. That's why, leave a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss anything.